working on our next activity here. We're going to be looking at more complex shapes. And in this tutorial, which I'm going to try and keep as brief as possible, we're going to be talking about two tools in specific, Pathfinder and Shape Builder. Okay, these are used to make more complex shapes. So I'm going to make a new file, Command N, and we'll get started. We'll use the same file sizes we've been using, which is under Art and Illustration, 1280 by 1024. All right, if I'm trying to make a complicated shape, we can use the pen tool, okay, to create complex shapes, or another alternate way to work with this is to use existing shape tools to make combination shapes. Okay, so I can have these two shapes overlap, and I'm going to give them some color just to make the point. Set my workspace. Oops. Okay, and I'm going to set the stroke a little wider. Okay, so I'm going to overlap these. I'm going to go to outlines. Outline view is available by going from view to outline mode. Okay, and it switches to just the paths that make up your artwork. Okay, Command Y is the keyboard shortcut, and that will toggle your view between preview and outlines. I want to go to outlines to just demonstrate that these two paths overlap each other. Okay, and you can see here that there's a segment that is where they overlap. There's a segment where they don't overlap. Okay, they exclude each other. And then this object, the one that is currently green, is in front of the object that is red. Okay, and what I can do with that, a couple ways to make more complicated shapes, is by selecting both of them. And you can either do this here in the Pathfinder, or if you go to Window, down to Pathfinder, you can see more of the options by opening up. That's good right there. And what you'll notice is I get these little icons. Okay, so this one here is going to unite the two objects together. The next one is going to minus or subtract the front. Here we're going to get the intersection point, and then finally we're going to say what's not intersecting. Okay, so while these two are selected, you have to have them. If you only have one selected, it won't work. You need to select both objects. That will unite them into one shape. I'm going to go back to my outline so you can see that that has now become the outline of that shape. Okay, Command Y. Okay, I'm going to go undo. Minus front is going to subtract what's in front from what's in back. Okay, so right now the green is in front of the red. Minus front subtracts that from the other. This is our intersection point, so where they two overlap each other. And the Pathfinder exclude gives me the opposite of where they interact. Notice, okay, it's cut this away, which you can see because I'm looking through it. Okay, I'm going to undo those steps. Okay, there are a couple more down here. The ones I'm only going to talk about for now are divide and minus back. So minus back is the opposite of minus front. Okay, with them selected, I do this, and rather than subtracting one from the other, it does the opposite. Command Z. And finally, divide, which is also useful. Divide is going to, it's a little trickier because what it's going to do is it's going to group the objects together once it's finished. So I divide it, it cuts it along every line. Okay, anywhere that it was overlapping, it makes kind of a cut there, but nothing happens noticeably because what happens at the end is it groups everything together. To see the change, I need to right click and ungroup. Okay, and then you can see that those cuts have been made. Okay, I'm going to undo and show you an alternate tool which does kind of a similar thing. Okay, so there's our two shapes no longer grouped and no longer made any additional changes to them. Select them both, okay, and I'm going to go over here to the Shape Builder tool. I think we're the Pathfinder for now. Here's the Shape Builder tool. Now, with this tool selected, I have kind of similar options. Okay, I'm going to, while they're selected, I can just click and drag through any segments, and again, it'll unite them. I'm going to undo that. Okay, or if I wanted to, I can select, just these two. Oops, I haven't selected Command A, these two, and it'll turn those two together. Okay, so what's happening is basically I'm selecting what pieces I want to be connected. Okay, and you'll notice there's a small plus next to my icon here. If I hit Option, it changes to a minus, and you can do similar things by subtracting those two from each other, or subtracting those two. Okay, or alternatively just clicking and getting rid of the pieces you don't want. Okay, so those are two ways to make changes to a shape to create more complicated shapes. Okay, just a couple of notes. The keyboard shortcut is Command Y to go to your outlines, and the tools again are called Shape Builder and Pathfinder, which is window Pathfinder. Okay. The next thing I want to mention in this tutorial very quickly are anchor points. So you can see we've created some anchor points here. Depending on the complicated shape you make, sometimes those anchor points will have a couple of extra anchor points that maybe showed up in the sort of divide that you did. So I'm going to add a couple of anchor points here. Okay, the way I did that was by using the pen tool. You can put your cursor right over any path and add an anchor point there. You can also click on any existing, so if you put your cursor over any existing anchor point, you can subtract, okay, that anchor point, and it's going to get rid of those anchors, okay? You can also do that with the plus or the minus key on your keyboard, plus and minus, okay? We'll add anchor points, okay, like that. Oh, sorry, I have to use plus, okay, and it'll add an anchor point, which I can then use my direct select tool to edit. There's an anchor, there's an anchor. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's how that works. Select everything, delete. The last thing I'm going to mention is, and I think I mentioned this in the last tutorial, but I just wanted to cover it again. When you do have a shape, you can use the direct selection tool to select over a corner or anchor, sorry, and you'll notice that the other ones are not selected. So if I hit my arrow key on my keyboard, shift arrow, I'm only moving the selected anchor point. If I want to add to that selection, I'm going to hold shift and drag over the other point that I want. Okay, or I can add shift, hold shift and click on another, and now I've selected 3 anchor points. Okay, if I want to deselect, I can hold shift and click on that, and now I'm back down to 2. Okay, and back down to 1. Okay, and I'm just using the keyboard arrow keys to move my anchor points around. I can also just click on them. Okay, finally, if I just click on a segment, I can move segments individually, or I can hold shift and click 2 segments. Okay, and now I'm dragging these 2. All right, that's the tutorial. Go and practice. And if you are concerned that you're not seeing the most recent videos, or you want to make sure you're following along, do subscribe to the channel, only because these videos get updated with new software. So it's every time there's a new software, I'm going to try and update. Okay, so probably a good idea to subscribe. Okay.